So we are going to start object-oriented programming in ABAP, also known as OOABAP, and let's understand the importance of it. So what we are going to see here is
object-oriented
OOABAP, object-oriented in ABAP. So what is OOPS? First question for it. What is OOPS? What is OOPS? So OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming System. Object Oriented Programming System. And Object Oriented Programming System, oriented programming is a programming paradigm in ABAP that enables programmers to design software components known as objects. So if I am going to ask you a question, what is an object? What will be your answer? Very simple question. What is an object? What will be your answer? If somebody asks,
object could be anything. It could be a book, it could be a table, it could be a computer. A non-living thing, probably.
A non-living things. An object is a non-living thing, according to you. So if I will ask you a question, can you give a object for a human being? What is a object for human? We are objects of human, right?
Yes.
So object is something that is real life entity. It has nothing to do with living or non-living. It can be living, it can
It's a real life
be
entity.
yeah,
Something.
it is a real life entity that is something. So your object or ABAP OOPS is based on two things. It is based on two things. First one is class. What is a class? A class is a blueprint or template for creating objects. So if I have to answer this question, what is the class of human being? So can I say human being structure? Can I say this is, can I say that this is a human being, right? This is a human being. This is a human being. So this is the design of a human being. But what is the object of this thing? We are the object of this thing. We have all the same things, right? But we are actually existing. This is just a templates designed over the system. It is not taking any space on the real world, right? So it is just a structure. So class is similar to it. Class is a blueprint or template. So you can call this is a human class and we are the object. This human class has some features. It has got two hands. Yes, we are the object. We have got two hands. It has got one mouth. Can you see it? It has got a heart. Same stuff we have, right? So we are the objects of human class. So a class is a blueprint or templates for creating objects. Then what you are going to see is it defines the properties and behaviors that objects of that class will have. It defines the properties Properties, you can also say data, and behavior, you can call it method or function, whatever you would like to do say. So method, also known as behavior. So what is the behavior of a human class? We can run, we can speak, right? We can speak, we can do anything. What is the property of a human class? We have two hands, we have got two legs, we have got one mouth, right? We have got two eyes. So this is the property of a human class. And behavior, some people are more loudly in nature, some people are soft in nature, right? These are the behavior. So in technical term, what you can see, a class consists of methods, or behaviors, or you can define properties as attributes also, events, interfaces, etc. A lot of things. Okay, this is a class. Now what is a object? The second important thing of a object oriented programming is object. So OOPS is based on two things, class and object. So class is just a blueprint or template using which we create our object. And what is an object? An object is an instance of the class. An object is an instance of the class. Okay, instance of the class. Using class we are going to build our objects. Very simple example, like whenever you need a house, what you do? You go to the builder, right? You show the design, or builder shows you the design that will you want this kind of house or you want this kind of house, right? They shows you the design, and based on design, whenever you are selecting any particular design, so based on that design, your builder is going to build that house for you, right?
Yes.
So that design is your class. It is not actually is your home that you are going to live inside it, but on which a object will be created. That object you are going to live inside. That object you are going to live, right?
Yes.
So that object is your actual house, which will take some space in real world, but that template has nothing to do. It can be anything. It is just logical something. It is not physically present. It is logically present, but your house will be the one which will be physically present, right?
Yeah.
Is this clear?
It is clear.
Then what you are going to see, how many types of classes? How many types of classes in ABAP? The most an important thing for today. So how many types of classes in ABAP? So the first thing is global class, global word. What is global? Something that we can reuse it anywhere inside a program, table, or anything, right? So global class, definitely it will be accessible for everything. So a class, a global class is a class that can be accessed from any ABAP program in SAP system. Okay, any
Yes.
ABAP program. Second thing, global classes, global classes are defined in the global class pool that are available throughout the system. Then there will be a transaction code also for it, right? So
Yes.
we can create a global class using SE24 transaction code. Using SE24 transaction code. This SE24 transaction code is also known as class builder. This SE24 transaction code is also known as class
Class
builder.
builder.
So log into your SAP system, log into your SAP system, go to SE24, and what you are going to see, this is your class builder initial screen. Okay,
Okay.
now just give some name over here, any class name. Okay, go for create button. Can you see this class? Go for
Yes.
okay. Now how many types of global classes can you see here? One, two,
Usual,
three, and
exception
four, right?
class, assistant class,
Four
test
kinds
class.
of classes are there.
Mm-hmm.
So how many types of global classes? How many types of global classes? The first one is also known as usual ABAP class. Usual ABAP class. So the simple definition is that it is used, it is the normally used global class. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
normally used global class. Every time what we are going to define, we mostly use this usual class if we have to define any global class. Normally used global class, this is. Then the second one is we have for some special purpose, which is exception class, and its name itself is suggesting that an exception class in ABAP is a special type of class used for defining custom exception. Used for defining custom exception. Used for defining. Used for defining custom exception. Which is used for defining custom exceptions. Now what you can do, the another thing is here. These exceptions represent specific error condition or situations that can occur during program execution. Okay, execution. So the simple purpose of this exception class is that if any error is going to come, if any error is going to raise in your SAP system or in your program, this exception class you can use to handle the exception. Is this thing clear?
Okay. It is clear.
Is clear. Okay, then we have
It
the
is.
third class, persistence class. Persistence class. Okay, third kind of class. What is a persistence class? So a class that to refers to a class that facilitates the between interaction with persistent storage. Okay, persistent storage such as database, so a class that refers to a class that facilitates the interaction with persistent storage such as database. That is, let's say you have got your tables, right? We have already created our employee and project details table. So if we
Mm-hmm.
want to perform certain operations on those tables, what we can do, we can create our persistent class, and this persistent class will help us. This provide a special kind of interface using which we will be able to interact with all those tables, and we will perform some certain kind of operation. Let's say I want to get data, so I can implement the getter function to get the data. If I want to set the data, I can implement the setter function to set the data. Similarly, we can perform modify operations to modify the already existing records, and then if we want to delete the data, we can perform the deletion of that also, right? Is this thing clear?
Yeah, it is.
Then we are moving for the next kind of class, which is your unit
X.
test class, right? Unit,
Yeah.
you see it, where is it? Yeah, test class or unit test class. So test class, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What could be the use of it?
To, to
Think
to
on that.
actually test the program which we have created.
Yeah, please repeat.
To test the program we have created or to test the program we have written.
Mm-hmm. So a unit test class is a class in ABAP which is used for testing the functionality. Just go see that. Testing the functionality of individual units of code. Individual units of code. So we are going to test the functionality of individual units of code, typically methods, functions, etc. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
we are going to break down our entire program into different portion, and then we will be doing the testing using this test classes. So
Mm-hmm.
what this test class does, is these tests verify that each line of code behaves as expected under various conditions and inputs, so that they can work in every condition that can arise during the testing part. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
every way. So it is always the best thing that we should test our code in every different kind of situation, so that if let's say certain requirement is changed maybe by the client at the runtime, then still our codes would work. Okay, this is our
Yeah.
single approach while whenever we are delivering or writing any program. So the single thing is that it should work in every condition, in every way. That is why we go for these various kinds of classes. Normally we are going to use this UsualABAP class mostly, but you can also use these classes totally based on the requirement.
Okay.
So this is first type of class, global class. Then use your local class. Local class. So in ABAP programming, a local class is a class that is defined within the scope of another ABAP program or function module. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
in a local class is a class that is defined within the scope of another ABAP program or function module. It can be anything. And let's say inside the function module, I'm defining a ABAP program, or inside ASC38 editor, I am creating my own program. Inside it, I am creating my local class. Anything. The purpose, what is the purpose of local class? To create the objects, right? Create the object. So this local class is just nothing. It is like a structure, right, defined for
Mm-hmm.
some specific kind of purpose. It will have a behavior and it will have a property. These two important features of a class.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike global classes which are defined independently and can be accessed, right? They can be accessed from any part of the program. Local classes are local classes are confined or separated to the program or function module in which they have been defined, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have been defined. So they are limited to the single program in which they have been defined. Or you can also write they are dedicated to one program only. One program only. We can create local classes. We can create local classes with the help of ABAP editor. That is, what is the transaction code of ABAP editor?
SC24.
SC38, Michael. ABAP editor. I'm not talking about class uh, AC24 class builder. I'm talking
Okay.
about ABAP editor. Okay. So for local classes, what you are going to see, there will be two portions. One will be class definition, where we will declare our class. Okay, we will declare our class. Declaration part of a class. We will declare our class using class definition, and then we'll have the second portion, class implementation. Class implementation, in which we will write the logic of our class. Is this thing clear?
Okay.
Logic of our class. Okay. So what I am going to do now is, let's go to our UsualABAP class. Let's go to our SE24 class builder and create a UsualABAP class. So I'll start with Z, Michael. Let's say I'm naming it UsualABAP. Any name you can give, UsualABAP class. UsualABAP class. And before that, let's take a requirement. Okay, let's take a simple requirement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a requirement. My requirement is we will give the input, okay, of employee ID in form of select option, and we will get the details. We'll get the employee details from our employee table. Okay, simple, not very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Let's see how we are going to create it. Go for create button. I will select class first. This interface is something else. We will discuss it later. Give a short description. So employee details class. By default, always make your class public. Okay. You can see we have got something here, public, protected. So what I am going to do here is, first I will pass the description. Just now forgive public. We will see what these things are and why we are using. For now, just public. Okay. Then there is, you can see we have got a final class. If a class is final, it cannot be inherited. First thing, inherited. Okay, we will see these things later on. For now, just give these things. Okay, only description, UsualABAP class. Now I'll go for save, assign the package, and transport request. So we have got here, and can you see we have got a lot of tabs. Again, a lot of tabs, properties. What is the attributes or properties tab? Can you see this properties? This properties contains your generic data, right? Your properties contains the generic data. Now we have got methods. Methods, also known as behaviors. They are similar to functions. You can create everything here. So for this requirement, what we will do, we will create a method. This method will perform actions for us. So you can pass any name for your method. Let's say I'm passing employee data or employee details. Okay. Now if you go to this level part, just see here, level part. You will see two important thing in the F4: instance method and static method. Instance, let me just write. So label of a method, label of a method, label of a method. So label of a method. So label of a method. Instance. Instance methods can only be accessed by its objects. Instance methods can only be accessed by its objects. Okay, by the objects of class. It will be more better, by the objects of class. Is this thing clear? By the objects of class. Then static method. Static is the class property. Static is the class property. We can directly access these methods. Directly access these methods using class name, or we can also access these methods by object name. Totally up to you. Okay. But the beauty of static method is this method will become a class property, and you will be able to directly access this method by using the class name. Okay. Then we have this visibility. If you go inside this visibility, you will see three kinds of it: public, protected, and private. Okay. Public, protected, and private. So what is the meaning of visibility? So where this method will be visible. So visibility of a method. Visibility of a method. What you are going to see here is the first one is public. Public, that is, it can be accessed within a class, within the class, within its child class. Can I say I am the child class of my parent? Right? So within its child class or outside the class also. Outside the class. So everything that is public, if a method is public, it can be accessed within the class, within its child class, and outside the class also. Second thing, if it is private, that is private. Object oriented thing is completely based on real world. Everything that you see surrounding you, around you, that is completely based on object oriented programming. Okay, you can directly relate these things with your nearby world. Okay, so private, it can be accessed only within the class. Only within the class. Third thing, protected, can be accessed within the class, within the subclass or child class, child class, child class, but not outside the class. Okay. This is the single difference between protected and public. It public outside the class also, it allows like a park. Okay, this is a park. Any park in your area can be accessed by any people, right? Everybody goes there to do some workout, right? But if something is protected, let's say you have bought some property, so that land or house can be accessed by you, your parents, and by you and your children will access it, right? But something that is very private to you, you will also not allow your children to access it, right? So that is private property. Okay. So this is the use of it. Let's make it this method public for now and write some description. So I'm writing a description here as to display the employee details. Now What is my requirement here? My requirement is it will take employee ID in the form of select options, and it will return us employee details, right, from our employee table. It will return us this thing. So what I am going to do here is I need the employee data. So we will pass the parameters. Do you remember in the function module we were passing the parameters, importing and exporting kind of thing?
Yeah.
Same thing, just click on parameters, and here you can pass your parameter. So give any name, Let's say I'm giving its name as P employee ID, P employee ID. Now in the type, if you go, you will see 4 types. Importing means you are sending something outside from the outside of class, and this class is receiving it. Okay. So
Yeah.
definitely it will be an importing parameter because we are sending the employee ID out from outside the class, right?
Yeah.
And then in the associated type, we will pass the table type for our select options. We had already created, if you remember, right? We already created. Let me just check it. Uh, this is my structure, table type for employee, right? This is table type for employee. Let's see if it is. Yes, this is. We have created. Just I'm copying it and I'm pasting it. Okay, this is my importing. Then this guy will return a internal table in which we will have my employee data. So LT employee. The type, this will become exporting now, right? And we will pass its table type. So I will also have created this thing already for our function module. Same stuff. Our 4 columns for it: employee ID, name, department, manager. Just pass this table type there. Pass it here. If you see inside this F4 help, there is a changing and there is a returning. There is a changing and there is a returning. So changing can be used for both input and output. This works for both. But returning is a function, is a particular method can only have one returning parameter, can only have one returning. You can make multiple importing and exporting, but a function method always have one returning parameter. If you are passing something returning, it will be only one in a method. If you are not passing, then there is no need of it. Okay, totally up to you.
Okay.
So this I have. Let's give a exception also. I will define exception. Let's say wrong employee ID, right? If data is not existing, so wrong employee ID. And I will give a description. Your employee data do not exist. Okay, do not exist. Now save it, and I will write logic. So I will go to my source code here. I will go to my source code, and in between method, just see here, these are the parameters that we have created. Can you see? This is importing, this is exporting, this is exception, same stuff. You can write logic based on that. So select employee ID, employee name, department, manager from your table name, into table, LT employee, sorry, into table, this one, this parameter, right? Just copy it, paste it here. The table type must be same, otherwise you will get error. Where employee ID in select option. What is the name of select option? This is the parameter that we are receiving. Just pass it here. Now, if LT employee is not initial, we will raise the exception, right?
Yeah.
Is not initial. And if I will raise the exception. So raised exception name is wrong employee ID. Wrong employee ID. Okay. Let's check for the syntax. There is no error, so activate it. Activate it. Go back. Activate your program also. Oh, sorry. Get back. Activate. So my class has been activated. Now if you want, you can test it from here also. Just go for execute button. In the execute button, can you see this employee details? By
Details.
default, can you see it is coming in the method section? This is the method you have created. If you will go for execute, just pass the select option value. So I'm passing IBT, right? IBT.
Yes.
And here from 101 to 105, go back and click on execute button. It is saying me exception, wrong ID was raised. Why it is saying me, Michael? Can you think on that? If I go to my code, if I go to my code, if I go to my code, this is my method. Just go for source code. I have written if LT employee is not initial, that it is not empty. So if it is not empty, I have mistaken here. I am raising the wrong exception. So it should be initial only. Okay.
Okay.
That if it is empty, it is not able to bring some data. It simply means that employee ID is wrong. Now go for execute. Pass it. Now check it. IBT 101 to 105 or 106. Go execute. Now see here, we are getting the records. A class, very important thing. Class, blueprint of creating object. We will create its object. We will see how to do all those things. But this is how we create our usual ABAP class. Is this thing clear?
It is.
Very important thing. And